Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, hello. Apologies, I had to clear my throat before I turned my mic on because I didn't want to shock anybody or cough in your ear or clear my throat in your ear because that would be, well, obnoxious, quite frankly. How you doing? It is Friday, about 6:30 p.m. I was going to start a little bit earlier, but I forgot that I had pre-scheduled the replay of a show from a couple days ago. When was it? I'm not sure. Anyway, I guess it was that last Friday? No, I'm not even sure when it was. I can't keep track of anything these days because all I do is get up at 4 a.m., walk my dog, shower, shave, not necessarily in that order, of course, but I'm up every day at 4 a.m. And on the weekends, I try and sleep in. And sometimes Lola, my beautiful puppy dog, who is sitting here right beside me, will allow me to do it. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. Fortunately, the last couple of weekends, she has allowed me to sleep in a little bit later, 7 o'clock-ish. I will, wake up usually before her look, and she's crawled into bed beside me, and I'll take a look, and she'll be there, and I'm like, all right, okay, I can sleep for a little bit longer. Not always the case, but oftentimes it is. So if I get to sleep until 7 a.m. on a Saturday, that is a treat among treats for me, because quite frankly, when you're up every day at 4, 7 a.m. is late. So how was your week? Mine was busy, work-wise. Had some extracurriculars, a couple things I was able to take part in this weekend, and I was just very happy to do so and enjoyed it. It was a good week. A little tiring, a little exhausting, but that's just the nature of life sometimes. Life comes at you pretty fast. That's a Ferris Bueller reference for those of you who weren't quite sure. I'm going to share some clips with you today about some of the most ridiculous things that took place this past week. Of course, we are going to dive in to a degree. I'm not sure what the degree will be, but we're going to dive in to a degree about the rambling of an incoherent, blithering idiot. Oh, I mean, the President of the United States, who addressed, I don't even know if you could call that an address, because it was literally rambling idiocy that he spewed for 60 minutes, 45 minutes past his allotted time, because he thinks he's special and the rules don't apply to him. And probably because he's been able to get away with shit like that his entire miserable life. I'm talking, of course, about the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, the fascist prick dictator who is eroding away a once shining beacon on a hill, a once great democracy. I don't know if it's been great for a long time, to be honest with you, but he has dragged it so far down in the last 9 months, I guess, since he was able to take office, that we're all just sitting here going like, yeah, it's 1933 all over again. How? Apparently, history's not taught in school anymore because nobody seems to remember what took place in Germany in 1933, the Reichstag fire. It's when media was told to behave and do exactly as I tell you, or you will be eliminated. And I don't know how that elimination would take place, to be honest with you, because I don't want to get right down dirty into that. We eventually know where that government led to and what became of it, and we fought a global war about it. It's probably going to take place again if we don't do something to stop this madman. We're desperately hoping that his own people and people in power and positions of power in that country will not allow the democracy and the republic to completely fail so that we don't have to take up arms. But it's not looking good. It really isn't. He's tried to put an end to the First Amendment of the United States of America, which is free speech. I have some clips I need to share with you. And the one that I want to share with you right away is the one that makes me just chuckle the most, because they literally are flying in the face of their First Amendment. And I say this because their First Amendment is freedom of speech. You are free to say whatever you want, and the government cannot hold you accountable. They do not have any rules or laws or safeguards or guardrails around hate speech in that country. They don't. It technically doesn't exist because they're allowed to say whatever they want. Now, free speech isn't consequence free. But now they're talking about how they want to put limits on speech and call it hate speech. Have a look at this.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle. There's free speech.
Okay, she's a complete lying, blithering idiot, because Charlie Kirk was allowed to say some really horrific things. Really, really hateful things. He was a horrible human being. I've gone on about that before. But he was allowed to say hateful things constantly and was never held to task for it until, well, he was. So what she's trying to say is, if we determine it to be hate speech, in other words, if you are Antifa, if you are a leftist, if you believe in democracy and the rule of law, we're going to beat you down for it. It's effectively what she's saying. Yeah, sure, I'm paraphrasing, but I can do that. This is my show. Well, it's not my show, but I contribute to it. And I can say these things because I have freedom of expression in this country. We do have rules and laws around hate speech in Canada. And I'm glad that we do, because that helps us to prevent a person like Charlie Kirk from spewing hateful thoughts and feelings constantly and never being held to task for it. We do have rules around that sort of thing, as they do in Germany, because they realize that, as Karl Popper once said, if you are so tolerant that you allow the intolerant to speak, sooner or later you will have an intolerant society. I'm paraphrasing. I do that a fair bit. But that's the gist of it. If you let the intolerant speak freely and say the intolerant things that they want to say, sooner or later tolerance will die, and you will only have an intolerant society. And that's what that woman was saying. We will come after you if we don't like what you say. It's funny, with hate speech, Brian Kilmeade from Fox News, who actually called for the murder and euthanization of homeless people and drug addicts. And he didn't lose his job. He issued an apology, and everybody said, what a wonderful apology, what he said. I was like, because he's a white man in a position of power and influence, I guess. I don't know. Let's have a look at some of the insanity that was hurled our way just the other day. This is only 2 minutes and 21 seconds. This is a best of the worst of Donald Trump addressing the United Nations. Now, maybe you've already seen this. Maybe Mr. Beaver went over it. I don't know. I don't really get to see the show that much because of my schedule these days, but I'm going to review a few things here, and I do want to talk about them. So first, let's have a look at this.
The teleprompter is not working, and whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen, but she's in great shape. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. The number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. You have to end it now. Let's see, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists, and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. We have a border, strong, and we have a shape, and that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough, it blows. And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here tends to get very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity.
How twice they elected that thing. Twice. The stupidest man on planet Earth to ever hold an office of that nature. And I don't say that in a joking manner. I mean that. He's an idiot. He didn't know what he was talking about. He seems to think if he has a thought in his head that he's 100% right, despite the fact that he's done zero research, despite the fact that he has zero expertise. That was 2 minutes out of a 1 hour rambling, incoherent, bloviating, blithering idiot spouting off at the mouth. I was trying to watch that at work. I had it up on the screen in the corner on BBC, and I was like, I gotta mute that. I'm like, I gotta mute that. I got other stuff to do. I don't know what to say to that other than, oh, goodness gracious me, we are all doomed. We are all doomed if an idiot, an absolute blithering, moronic, narcissist idiot like that is allowed to remain in the position that he's in. And he's surrounded himself with sycophants who pledge loyalty and fealty to him. If you watch Howard Lutnick in after every sort of executive order that is signed, after it's explained to him what he's signing, Howard Lutnick says, "This is the best thing you've ever done. We'd like to thank you once again for your leadership." I'm like, Let's watch this next clip because they pick it apart oh so very, very well. This is this BBC? Hang on, let me double check it before I put it on the screen. Yeah, it is. It's the BBC. This is from the BBC. And boy, do they rip him a new one. And I am so pleased about it. Watch this. This is 7 minutes and 28 seconds of satisfaction.
Trump has addressed world leaders at the United Nations in New York for the first time in 5 years. In an extraordinary speech, he took aim at European countries, saying they were going to hell because of immigration and a failed experiment of open borders. He criticised London's mayor, Sir Sadiq Khan, the first Muslim mayor of a Western capital, and said London wanted to go to Sharia law. A spokesman for the mayor said they wouldn't dignify the president's appalling and bigoted comments with a response. Donald Trump also called climate change the greatest con job perpetrated on the world and said green energy schemes were a joke. Well, BBC Verify's Nick Beak has been looking at each of his claims. More from him in a moment. But first, our North America editor, Sarah Smith, is in New York and has just sent us this report.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Donald Trump came with a message to the UN about where it's going wrong and to tell its member countries what they need to change, railing against what he called the double-tailed monster of immigration and green energy. He repeated his familiar claim to have ended 7 wars and complained he'd had no help from the UN in doing so.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much.
The escalator stopped just as he got on, a perfect illustration for Mr. Trump of everything he thinks is wrong with the UN. He talked about the conflicts he's not been able to end in Ukraine and in Gaza, criticising nations like the UK who have recognised Palestinian statehood.
We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities.
On Ukraine, he said he could impose much tougher sanctions on Vladimir Putin, but won't unless European countries stop buying energy from Russia.
And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. But they have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time.
Immigration, he said, is destroying countries around the world, saying Europe in particular is in serious trouble.
They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable.
He singled out Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, for criticism.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that.
Mr. Khan has said he's not going to dignify these bigoted comments with a response.
Would be too great.
The other great threat facing the world, according to President Trump, is not climate change, but attempts to halt it with renewable energy. Global warming, he said, is a hoax.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
He specifically chided the UK for not drilling for more oil under the North Sea. For almost an hour, he lectured world leaders on what they're doing wrong, as he bragged about what he sees as his great successes in office.
But first, let's go to BBC Verify's Nick Beak in Washington. And Nick, you've been going through some of the claims. Let's start with London wants to go to Sharia law.
Yeah, that's right, Sophie. This was the startling claim made by President Trump today. Part of his message that immigration is destroying European countries, including the UK. We know that for the best part of a decade, Trump has attacked Sir Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. But this appears to be the first time the president has claimed that London wants to go to Sharia law. There was this myth on the internet about 5 years ago that was quickly and easily debunked that the legal system would be moving to Sharia law. So that was then. Today, the mayor of London's office said that these comments didn't really dignify a response. They called them appalling and bigoted. And a government minister said for the record that Trump's claim was false.
What about climate change? The president said it was the greatest con job ever.
Yeah, he did, Sophie. The thing is that decades of specialist research really torpedoes that argument. The vast majority of scientists and experts say that climate change caused by humans is real. And here's a quote. This is from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, made up of hundreds of leading scientists. Human activities, principally through emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming.
And finally, he also said, he told world leaders that he has ended 7 wars. Has he?
No, he hasn't, Sophie. That is not the case. Trump claimed that thousands of people were dying in each of these 7 wars he talked about. But the reality is very different. Some of them were very quick skirmishes across borders. There was one that was a dispute between Egypt and Ethiopia over water, over the construction of a dam on the River Nile. There was no fighting there. President Trump says he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, but the war in Gaza continues, as to the war in Ukraine, which, of course, Mr. Trump said he could end in just one day, Sophie.
Nick, thank you. Well, Sarah Smith is still with us, as you just saw. Sarah, how did this address to the United Nations go down?
Well, that's really interesting because you could see how uneasy many of the world leaders listening to it were by the looks on their faces. But they haven't come out and criticised them yet. In fact, we've had the UN Secretary General repeating that they believe that America is essential to the work of the United Nations. Ursula von der Leyen from the European Union, for instance, has said she agrees with Donald Trump about Europe's need to end its reliance on Russian oil. I mean, Donald Trump came here 7 years ago and bragged about his achievements in office, and the people listening to him actually laughed at him. It was a humiliating moment for him, but things have changed so much. Nobody dares do that now. So even as they listen to him lecture them on how they should be running their own countries with his fixations on climate change and on immigration, he was still applauded at the end of it because everybody knows they have to treat Donald Trump much more carefully now.
Our North America editor, Sarah Smith in New York. Thank you.
They have to treat Donald Trump more carefully. In other words, they have to gently stroke the baby's hand to make sure he doesn't go caca. I don't. Look, they all know they're dealing with a madman. Yeah, I thought I'd share Lola. This is my studio assistant. You can see there's my studio assistant right there. She likes to sleep on the job, but I'm okay with it. Hey, Lola. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? She's right beside me. There she is. Look at her. She's a beautiful girl. Yeah. What am I supposed to say about all of that? I watched the speech when it was taking place, and I kept having to mute it and try and watch it later because it was the most bizarre rambling of a complete blithering idiot. This is not a man who should have his access to the button. This is not a man who should have access to the world's media. This is not a smart man. I know, look, we're a Canadian political talk show, but I couldn't let this one go because it's the United Nations. We're a founding member. We are a founding member of NATO. And this lunatic, because, look, every now and then somebody say, what the hell kind of behavior is that? Paul, you're crazy. And I'm going, well, I have anxiety and depression and I take medication. So yes, technically speaking, I am crazy. So you're not far off the mark. Or it's like, what are you on drugs? Yeah, I take Zoloft. It's sertraline. It's a medication for my brain because I have depression and anxiety. So I'm both on drugs and I'm crazy. And if I have to continue watching things like that, if more and more people start to come to me and go, you know, I'm kind of feeling pretty crazy too. I'm like, that's okay. That's normal. You should feel crazy after watching that blithering, bloviating idiot. I should have the Nobel Prize. No, you shouldn't. No, you should not. It's not how it works. I ended 7 wars. No, you didn't. The man has lived in a fantasy world his entire life. And now he has access to the nuclear codes. America. Look, your republic is done. It's dead. It's gone. It's buried. You now have a king who, shit, at least Caligula had good parties. It's over. It's done. Look, Americans, my friends, please, I beg of you, do what you can to get this man out of office before you fall completely into Nazi Germany. Because that is his goal. You think I'm lying? You think I'm being hyperbolic? You think I'm being ridiculous? Look, when people say, how did people let Hitler get away with all the things he did and just sat by and let it happen? And I go, if you want to know what you would have done in that situation, you're doing it right now. It's happening right now in real time, right in front of us. You don't believe me? You think I'm being hyperbolic? I think I'm exaggerating? Have you seen the ICE raids? Have you seen how they beat down people? Have you seen how they've pulled over doctors and pulled them out of their vehicle and arrested them because they're brown? Yes, you are correct about that. Playing with 3D. Caligula didn't pave over the orgy garden. We are in a very strange timeline. And again, I say this when you think to yourself, how did people just sit idly by and let Hitler do what he did? You want to know how people would have reacted? What are you doing right now? That's what people were doing. Look, I'm one single voice shouting against a gigantic war machine. I don't even live in that country. And I'm screaming from the top of my lungs, people, look around you, see what's happening, pay attention. When they write laws or try and write codes or draft executive orders that say, we're going to name Antifa a terrorist organization, you need to pay attention to that. And it's not real complicated, and you don't need a lot of brain power for this one. You don't need to know a lot about history. You don't need to know a lot about how things work. When the government says we are going to call the anti-fascists terrorist, that means they're fascist. The people who want to shut down, again, it's not an organization. There's no hierarchy. There's no levels. There's no groups. People just say, I'm Antifa. I'm anti-fascist. Like, the Allied forces in World War II, they were Antifa. When you want to shut down anti-fascists, it's because you're fucking fascist. Well, there's something, Linda, for folks at home listening to the audio version of this only, one of the viewers, long time, well, actually our very first viewer listener, right from the get-go, Linda M. She says, given the way media is down there, I wonder how many Americans have actually seen any of it. It's a very valid point. I mean, one of the first things Hitler did in 1933, after the Reichstag fire, Charlie Kirk's assassination, murder, killing, was shut down the media who didn't say things that Hitler wanted to hear. Didn't Trump just do those things like a week ago? Had Jimmy Kimmel silenced by having the FCC threaten to take away their license. And then he said, if they're saying negative things about me, that should be illegal. They should lose their license. That is fascism. That is the erosion of free speech. That is the removal thereof. When you say, I don't like what he says about me, he shouldn't be allowed to say that. You do not support free speech. You do not support freedom of expression. You are a fascist. You're a dictator. You're not socialist and you're not communist. Those are two things that are somewhat related but have nothing to do with the other two. Just because I've been called I've actually had people call me out online saying you're a socialist, fascist, communist prick. Like I can't be all of those things at the same time. It's not actually possible to be all of those things. They're diametrically opposed. But some people refuse to use this little device that they have in their, hand that gives them access to global knowledge. And instead of actually looking up what fascism means, what a dictator is, what communism is, what socialism is, instead of looking those things up, they just shout words at you because they've heard somebody say them, but they don't know what they mean. When I was a much younger man, I've done that. Back before the days where I could, I'm on the Twitter and somebody says something to me and I go, oh, I don't know what that means. I can look it up right away. But before that, before I could do those things, I would occasionally respond to somebody in an unkind manner. And then somebody would come along, not online because it wasn't online, in a conversation. Somebody go, yeah, Paul, you're wrong. And here's why. And they tell me and I go, oh, really? I got to go look that up. So then the next day I would go to the library and pull out the encyclopedia and look it up and find out what it meant. Well, now I can get into a conversation or a back and forth chat on this little device with somebody on any one of a number of social platforms. And they will call me names and I'll go, look, those things, one cancels out the other. I can't be both of those things. I can be one or the other, but I can't be both. You don't know what they mean. The sad thing is you have access to knowledge in the palm of your hand, and the same thing you typed that out on and called me those horrible things. You could have literally looked them up, but instead you chose ignorance and look like a fool as a result because you just called me things that I cannot possibly be. We used to think that giving access of all the knowledge to planet Earth to everybody on planet Earth would have made us smarter. And there might have been a couple of years where we were getting close. And then it all went to shit when the wealthy people got in control of the things we use to communicate with one another. Not to say that there weren't always wealthy people doing that, but now there's only a handful of them. And it's not an oligarchy either. Our feudal lords don't want us to have access to knowledge. They want us to read and learn and know what they tell us. Thankfully, we still have access to knowledge. We still have access to the truth. But the overlords, the feudal lords that are trying to run our lives from every possible aspect are getting more and more power. You know that TikTok is now under ownership or partial ownership or guidance of a few American oligarchs, which means they're going to channel the algorithm to drive Trump-related bullshit into our skulls 24 hours a day for every time we look at it, which means we'll have to come up with another platform so that we can just communicate with one another without having the algorithm spit horrible, horrible things towards us on a daily basis. Blue Sky's been pretty good about avoiding that crap. I'm still on Twitter. I still use it frequently. Or X, I guess some people call it. I still call it Twitter. I don't care. I'm going to call it what I want to call it. Free country. I can express myself freely without fear of ramifications from Elon Musk because he doesn't know I exist. So, what did we learn today? Well, we've learned that the global media did what many of us did just the other day when the President of the United States of America rambled on for an hour at the UN, and we did all the same thing, which was basically stand slack-jawed with mouths agape going like, I don't want to look, but I can't look away. We're watching a car crash in real time, and nobody's doing anything to stop us. And that's kind of how I feel like life is right now. We're watching these things happen in real time, and no one's doing anything to stop it. God, I wish Barbara Walters was still alive. She would not let him get away with that crap. I mean, she interviewed him back when he went bankrupt, back in the early 90s. 1990, I think. Yeah. It was on 2020. I have a clip of it here. I'm going to see how much I can show you. Yes, I have a clip here. I'm going to share it with you because I think it's worth sharing. This is a shareable clip. It's in the it's a short. I don't even know how long this clip is, but I'm going to play it for you because it's worth your watch. This is why I miss having Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters was a serious, really serious, practiced journalist who respected journalism, who would not allow her interviewer to get away with lying to her face and saying that's how it is. She would call out the lies, and she did in this interview. This is just a clip. I'm not even sure how long it is, but it's worth your time. This is from 1990. It's 35 years ago.
Well, the new book is entitled Surviving at the Top. There are many people who would say failing at the top.
Well, I think what the press has done is taken a situation where they see something and blown it to kingdom come. I've never seen anything like it. Whether it's a marriage, by the way, or whether it's financial, I've never seen press reporting as I have with regard to me. And I hope the general public understands how inherently dishonest the press in this country is.
As a member of the press, let me try to clear up some of the things which you say are untrue. You write in your book, my bankers and I worked out a terrific deal that allows me to come out stronger than ever. I see the deal as a great victory, and eventually the rest of the world will too. Being on the verge of bankruptcy, being bailed out by the banks,
well, you don't have to say on the
skating on thin ice and almost drowning, that's a businessman to be admired.
You say on the verge of bankruptcy, Barbara, and you talk on the verge, and you listen to what people are saying.
I talk to your bankers.
Well, that's fine. And what do they say? I mean, you know, depending on which banker you're talking to, what do they say?
Let's try to be accurate.
Go ahead.
Some of your friends have told us that you deliberately missed a payment on the Trump Castle debt so that you could negotiate this deal with the bank. Is that true?
Did I deliberately miss it? In other words, did I just say I'm not paying it for a
because then I can deal with my banks and I can get short-term, agreements over the long term.
Well, I don't want to comment as to whether or not I deliberately missed
Why
the
not?
payment.
That's
I think that the deal that's been worked out is a fair deal. The castle is doing very well. It's starting to do really well. Atlantic City is in the midst of a recessionary area. People are not going down like they used to because they don't have the money.
And the Taj Mahal, which was going to save everything, is just about breaking even, and your other two casinos are down 20% from last year. You have debts to pay back.
Right.
You have huge loans to pay back. You say the country is in a depression. What makes you think that you can pay back those loans? And further, what your bankers have told us is that the only way you even have a chance is by selling that property out there totally, the plaza.
Well, I don't know what the bankers have said. The plaza is a very valuable property. Everybody told me, oh, you paid too much, you paid too much. Now they're all saying what a great deal he made on the plaza. Well, I think you'll find that it's a great deal when the deal is all said and done. I mean, the plaza is doing very well. The Taj Mahal broke every record. That doesn't mean it's doing well. But the Taj Mahal last month had the highest win in the history of casino gaming.
He bankrupted 6 casinos, friends. Casinos are a license to print money, and he bankrupted 6 of them. And I love how Barbara did not let him get away with his lie. We're going to back that up because it's just a thing of beauty. I got to go back a minute or two because it just makes me feel so good to hear what she said. Let's watch that again.
You paid too much, you paid too much. Now they're all saying what a great deal he made on the plaza. Well, I think you'll find that it's a great deal when the deal...
They're all saying what a great deal. No, they're not. No, they're not. It's a thing of beauty. Let's watch it again. It's so satisfying.
What you paid too much. Now they're all saying what a great deal he made on the plaza. Well, I think you'll find that it's a great deal when the deal is all said and done. I mean, the plaza is doing very well. The Taj Mahal broke every record. That doesn't mean it's doing well. But the Taj Mahal last month had the highest win in the history of casino gaming.
I know, but it still was not enough. It just barely broke even in terms.
Okay, let's back that up again. Because listen to the bullshit he spews here. He's been doing this forever. But listen to this, and I'm going to pause it because it's like, what? What?
Is doing very well. The Taj Mahal broke every record. That doesn't mean it's doing well.
It broke every record, but it doesn't mean it's doing well. What? What? How do you... It broke every record, but it's not doing well.
But the Taj Mahal last month had the highest win in the history of casino gaming.
I know, but it still was not enough. It just barely broke even in terms of what it cost you. Well, the new book is entitled Surviving at the Top.
How do you even, I mean, how do you even? I can't even, not with this guy. But I love how Barbara was like, no, it isn't. You're lying. Would not allow him to get away with his bullshit. And this is what we need more of. We need reporters in the White House who know they're going to get booted when they call out Carolyn Leavitt for her blatant lies that she spews forth every damn day. Thomas Homan did nothing wrong. He's completely innocent. He did not commit any crimes. He did not take any money. We actually have video of him taking a bag of money. He did nothing wrong. It's a bag of money. Our prime minister, former prime minister, our late prime minister, Brian Mulroney, took an envelope full of money. We know he got caught. We're not trying to cover it up. Hell, we're telling you about it. This clown over here, the guy who is in charge of the border, that guy, Thomas Homan, took a bag full of money, and Carolyn Leavitt, the mouthpiece for the White House, is allowed to lie to the American public. And the folks that are in the White House press briefing room have to go along with it if they want to get access. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Call out their lies. Call them out to their face every single time, and then just send in another reporter. And you know what? Send in a reporter with different credentials. Create a new one each day if you have to. Make sure they're security cleared and they have the right to be there, but say they're from, I don't know, Rebel News or something to that effect. We can't allow this shit to continue, folks. You have to hold people responsible for the lies they tell and call them out for it. To allow it to continue is just completely absurd. But this is where we find ourselves today, in a very strange and bizarre place. And I don't even know what to say sometimes. I'm like, what is going on? Like, how did we get here? How did we allow ourselves to become so twisted up and turned inside out that we let people lie to us every second of the day and do not check them for it? How is this allowed to continue? I don't understand sometimes. As an example of stupidity and idiocy, I think many politicians in this country have felt emboldened by the fact that they can go on Twitter and say whatever they want and they're not held responsible for it. Case in point, Pierre Poilievre today.
Mark Carney's globetrotting continues to London. He's building on momentum, noting openness and working in the spirit of friendship. But he won't get the UK's barriers to Canadian beef and pork dropped or bring home anything for our workers. Mark Carney's illusion tour is all for show.
That was Pierre Poilievre at 12:44 p.m. today, September 26, 2025. And I responded to that immediately with, well, you aren't attending any of the meetings, so everything you say is merely wishful thinking on your part, proving once again you don't know what you're talking about. Just resign. You're getting the boot in January anyway. And our good friend Hugh of Borg. So Canada doing geopolitical relations is a bad thing? Is that your point? Try to offer us a reasoned alternative. All I hear from you is a drag on Canada's effort to build better. You are a dead hand quisling. Your language and policy tells me you want us as weak as possible. Fuck off. Well, Hugh, my good friend, I don't think I could have said it better. That's just... we need to hold our political people, I don't even know, in check. When they lie to our faces, we have to call them out on it every single time. I need every journalist who is worth their salt to do the same damn thing. And I know you are going to have to run the risk of being not allowed to be in a scrum, to be in the White House, to be in Parliament Hill, to be... I know you run the risk of that. But here's the thing. History and the law is on your side. When they lie to you, you call them out. And they might block you from the White House, from Parliament. But history and the rule of law works in your favor because you can call them out. You can go to court and you can win. Because freedom of the press to tell the truth as opposed to the truth they want you to hear is a fundamental and essential part of democracy. And the moment you become Fox News or Newsmax or News Nation, I think that's one of them, I don't know, I'm not up to date on all of the mouthpieces for the conservative leaning individuals in North America. I try and keep up, but it's difficult some days. If you are not on top of this, if you are letting these people spew these lies constantly, it's not only a dereliction of duty, but damn it, I'll say it, it's a crime against democracy. I'm just some clown in Ottawa with a microphone and a couple of cameras who's got some opinions, but I also know truth, and I know facts, and I know things I don't know I can look up from reputable sources so that I can say what you just said was a lie. And here's why it's a lie. We need more people to take part in democracy, and we need more people to hold our politicians to the truth. And if we don't do that, we've failed as a society. And I think I'm going to round it up right about there. Mr. Beaver did want to join this evening, but as you may have known, when he was in the chat earlier in the evening, he was unable to because scheduling didn't really work out to our favor this evening. He was held up in traffic. He was trying to get to his destination, and he just wasn't able to join. I mean, I'm going to stick around for a couple more minutes, but I got to jump in a few. I need to have some dinner. Lola's already eaten. I haven't yet. And I do want to spend some time this weekend. I'm going to be getting up quite early. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I'm going to be getting up late, actually, now that I think about it. I will be joining friends early, though. That's the thing that's different. I will be meeting with some friends early tomorrow at a pub to watch Team Canada take on Team England in the Rugby World Cup for what should be one of the better World Cup finals in a very long time. If it is anything like the semi-final match Canada played against New Zealand, it should be spectacular. These Canadian women are unbelievable. Look, I know a lot of people in this country don't know much about rugby. I only started to follow it about 12, 13 years ago. And it took me a while to learn the game. And I fell in love with it. And the more I watch of it, the more I want to watch of it. And to watch these young Canadian women who had to raise $1 million on their own so that they could be in a position to win. It's I'm gonna go Bill Murray. not Cosby. I'm gonna go Bill Murray on you here from Caddyshack. Here we are. Bunch of kids from out of nowhere. Cinderella story. Here we go. And that's what we're looking at, a Cinderella story. And I know, let's not get into the nitty-gritty of Cinderella or any of that. The story had a nice happy ending. And that's what we're looking for, a happy ending. Stop it. Stop it right now. Get your dirty mind out of the dirty gutter. Not what I'm talking about. The happy ending is Team Canada winning the World Cup of Rugby. That's the happy ending we want. And hopefully that spectacular crew of women will do what's never been done before. Canada win the Rugby World Cup. And I think that would be awesome. And I've talked to rugby people who are going, yeah, I think they're going to do it. I've talked to a lot of rugby people said because they have the way they play the game is different. They play it differently, and it's actually changing the game. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty because I realize a lot of you folks won't necessarily understand it, so I'm just going to avoid that. I urge you to watch the match tomorrow. I think it starts at 11 a.m. We're meeting a group of fellas at around 10 a.m. We're going to have some brunch, a cup of coffee, and then sit down and watch what we hope to be the greatest Canadian final in Rugby World Cup history. Actually, it would be the greatest. Even if they lose, it's still the greatest because we've never done it before. We've never been there before. No, I think we were there before, but lost to England. Yes. Yes, that's true. We lost to England a few years back, a bunch of years ago. Either way, I think tomorrow is the day that we raise the Rugby World Cup and bring it home. England is a hell of a team. No, you're right, Linda. They're a hell of a team, and I've watched them play. They're the only two teams in the entire Rugby World Cup tournament that have not lost a scrum. If you don't know what that is, it's okay. You can look it up. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties of it. I'm going to let you go. I am getting kind of hungry, and Lola needs to go for, well, not yet, but soon. She needs to go for her third walk of the day when she gets out to meet all of her friends at the pub who work there. So until I see you again, my friends, and I'm going to try and do this on Fridays, 6:30, depending upon how schedules go. Apologies, I wanted to start at 6 tonight, and I realized, oh yeah, there was a replay that I forgot about. But we'll try and do this as often as we can, hopefully every Friday at 6. If I can start taking part on the occasional morning, I will. I will be available on Tuesday morning, actually, and I will join because it's Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Our office is closed where I'm working currently. So I will be there Tuesday morning to see you folks in my orange shirt, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks to each and every one of you. I forgot to thank our sponsors at the top, but you saw the ad. It was fine. We thanked them already in the ad. I will see you all again real soon. I hope you take care of yourselves and have a great weekend. If you get a chance to watch the match tomorrow, please do. It's going to be worth your time. Take care. Bye.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.